Hey, this is Steve. I want to talk to you a bit about a comparison between the Prife International products, terahertz products, and Oli Life. And first of all, I want to say that I am incredibly grateful for Prife and what it did in my life, for what it did for my family. I think the Prife wand is one of the reasons why my dad went from having Parkinson's to being told by his doctor, I don't see any evidence of Parkinson's in you anymore. And this house right here, I don't think I would have had the money for the down payment except for Prife. So let's be super clear on that. At the same time, the market changes. Companies, they need to adapt. And, it's my job, I feel it's my job, to always inform the people who trust me if there's something better out there, right? So, a little bit of my background in, it was February of 2022. My friend Ricky started telling me about this, and I was like, I'm just not interested, Ricky. I'm busy. Finally, he convinced me to do it, and I started using it. I started sharing a bit, and it went viral. There was at the time really nothing else like it on the market. And I personally sold probably 800 of the terahertz wands myself. I had a very large organization all over the world selling them. Helped tons of people. People made great money. That same business this past month, maybe I made $200. And why is that? Well, there were a couple issues. One, people were, the wand is excellent. The ordering process with Prife was just super annoying and a disaster. The compensation plan was a little confusing. The amount paid out in terms of, the volume on the device that's paid out in compensation was a little iffy. Some of their products were like, you look at the price, you're like, really? I have multiple Pro wands that I ordered with bonus volume, and you're like, you want how much for that thing? I mean, I like it, but really, $4,000? I'm like, I'm just not sure about that. And one of the things also with the wands is people loved it, and it looks simple, but one thing we're talking about that's very important to understand for consumers is activation energy. What is activation energy? Activation energy means that you gotta embrace the fact that people are generally quite lazy. And I have a lot of wands in my house. I don't use it that often, I never get around to it, even though it's simple. And what we would find also with the Prife wands is there would be so much talk about different, very specific protocols for different things. And anytime you find yourself with people asking you what the protocol is, and you get that question a lot, you have to understand that what you're doing is a little complicated, and you're stepping a bit more into the role of a health practitioner rather than just someone who markets a simple device is going to change people's lives, right? So, volume has been down. They never really fixed a lot of the ordering stuff. People like their wands, they want to share, but they couldn't even deal with how complicated everything was, so they just didn't do it. And for me, recently, one of the biggest things was Prife's desire to take the company, which, as far as I can tell, is very much struggling, and take it to a public company, make it publicly traded. And in 30 years of doing network marketing, my experience is that is the number one thing I avoid in a network marketing company, is for it to go publicly traded, because it's a glaring evidence that the people running the company are much more interested in putting money in their pocket than in taking care of the distributors. Because when a company goes public, then it's the shareholders and Wall Street, in this case NASDAQ, that runs the company. And those people never run a network marketing company well. They always jack it up. And so for me, that was like, I think I'm over it. And what happened when I kind of was like, you know what, I just can't even anymore. What happened for me is a friend of mine who is my upline, part of my upline in Prife, super nice guy, one of the most generous people I know, just out of control generous. He sent me this picture of this device around his midsection. I was like, when I looked at it intuitively, I was like, man, there's something about this really interested me. And when I muscle tested it, just quantitatively, I was like, energetically, this thing is like off the chart on what it might do for people. And I'm like, what is that thing, right? He's like, well, it's PMF and a whole bunch of different other, frequency type things. It's for, it helps you burn calories and lose visceral body fat in inches. I'm like, but David, I think that's going to do a whole bunch more for people than just lose inches. And in a week, we've seen that already. Product's going crazy viral. It has, people are losing inches, but people are going almost instantly feeling something, and it feels like their gut is being rearranged, and, digestion changing and relationship with food changing. And one thing I told him, I think that what you're going to see is that this device is going to change people's emotions. And sure enough, he called me a few days later. He goes, you know what? He goes, you're right. He goes, someone of quite ADHD, and which has, caused him some major problems in his life. And he's like, you know what? He goes, you're right. He goes, I've got like space in my thinking. I'm not looping. Anyways, that, it caught my attention because one thing I know, again, we go back to the basic customers, lazy, and I go, that people will use. Why? Because you just put it around your waist and you push a button and you go on about your life, right? I had a lot of people come over to my house, and I would use the wand on them. I would use the wand on them. 100% of the people I did that to, the Prife wand, they got pain relief, right? How many of those people bought the device based on that? Now, I sold a lot of wands, but those people I demonstrated on, not many. Why? Because they have a hard time conceptualizing. They saw me do it on them, but when they think about them doing it on themselves, that's hard to imagine. And then they're like, well, how do you do it? How do you know where to point it? How do you, it confuses people a little bit. So when I looked at this device around the waist, I'm like, oh yeah, super low activation energy, right? I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And in fact, just in the week I've been telling people about it, people have gone, yes, I want it, I want it, I want it. So one of the very interesting things about Ololife, you're talking about a company that has done $1 billion in business in Asia, just now relaunching the US. And I will say this one thing, a couple years ago, some people tried to launch the US for Ololife, and the distributors who were in charge of it were super unethical and caused all sorts of problems. And I don't think that their original foot device, their P90, was nearly as effective as what it is now. So that company, Ololife, built their whole business in Asia on something called the P90 Plus. So it's a foot device, very reasonably priced compared to Prife. Prife has one for $1,000, but their top model is $4,500. And from what people with a lot of experience with both companies say, is like their $1,500 device way more effective than the $4,500 one. You sit on it, and you, in addition to PEMF and terahertz, you have two handheld devices, wands, that you can use for red light and for PEMF on spot treatments, right? So they actually have a wand for $600, which, again, my friends who've sold hundreds of Prife wands, they all say, oh, this is actually quite a bit nicer than the Prife Pro wand. It has more power, it's quieter, it's more sophisticated with a touch screen. It has a Dyson brushless motor in it. And also when you turn it off, it changes airflow to cool down the heating to the unit and to clean it to help it last longer. So here's the interesting thing that, this company has a nicer wand than Prife did, but built their whole Asian business not on the wand as much as mostly very much their top seller was this foot thing. Why? I think that, they built the business really on, hey, let me just try the device, sit on, and people got such fast results and not only experience something, but then you can very much conceptualize yourself doing that as well. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, I sat on it, I pushed a button, that was easy. I could do that for myself, and I could do what you just did for me, for my friends, if it works this quickly, right? And so one thing to understand is that as big a business as they built, just with that device, everyone in the company with lots of experience, what they're seeing with this shaken product, which goes around your waist, everyone's like, no, this new product is way more viral even than the foot thing, the P90 Plus. So a couple other things, in terms of comparison, that's kind of more on the consumer end. Right now we're going to go a little bit more business end, although I'm not going to get super technical. What we see is first of all, the price points much better than Prife. And when you take the cost of the product and then what percentage of that is paid out in commission to the field is actually much higher than Prife. So for what you're selling, you're making more money. And so for what I'm seeing is the compensation plan is way easier for me to understand. With Oli Life, you have one position and you can make as much money as you want. I've got, business partners in Oli Life who are making $300,000 a month. But I only have to work on one position. With Prife, I had 3-4 different positions trying to maximize all sorts of very complicated compensation type stuff that my upline had to help me with because I would get confused. So the way the compensation plan is structured and how generous it is much better. The ordering process, much better. We can take credit cards. You just fill out a form, we put the order in and then contact you for your credit card payment over the phone. It's very easy. Also, one of the things that's very important to me is I never really saw very much of a system with Prife in terms of how to educate people and upline and everything like that. In the US, the main people running this are people I've known for years and years and years, Van and Tuan. And these are a couple who've owned their own network marketing companies who are hired by network marketing companies to actually do marketing for different network marketing companies. And very interesting story on how they got into this, because both of them weren't really interested in doing network marketing anymore. Certainly not interested in doing another product company like Forget It. And Tuan was at a conference and saw a friend of his, Paul. And Paul had told him, I'm doing a product-based MLM again. And Tuan's like, no, are you out of your mind? We're never doing that again. He's like, no, it's great. He's like, I'm not interested. And Paul had brought this product called the Galaxy, which is a thing that goes over your eyes and puts PEMF and heat and different things in your eyes, right? And it's for improving eyesight and tired eyes and dry eyes and all sorts of clinical type issues with your eyes as well. So he had this at the conference and he's like, hey man, why don't you try it? And Tuan's like, no, no, I'm not. And what happened is he saw Paul try it on 4 people. Every single person he tried it on, when they tried it, it was so relaxing that they all fell asleep. And finally, Tuan's like, okay, I want to try it. And he fell asleep. He's like, now you got my attention, right? So that's another product they have. Again, very amazing technology, very easy to use, and very, very quick results. So that's some of the basics. The eye thing, maybe I'm most excited about it. I bought most of the products, not all of them. I bought the eye thing. I'm very excited because I have very dry eyes, man. Super excited about that. I bought a wand, bought the P90 Plus, and the shaken device, and I'm going to use them all and share them with people. So if you are a consumer and you're like, man, I've been needing a new wand, man, you're going to be ecstatic about the quality of this device, how well it works. And here's one thing I want to be very clear about. You know, sometimes people are just selling the new thing because there's money in it, right? And one of the very interesting things about both of my upline is these are like passionately ethical people. I saw one of my upline, he would get so fired up about, he was making a lot of money at the time, he would get so fired up about unethical things that he was seeing Prife do that like, I'm like, dude, you're gonna like lose your whole distributorship just because you're like, you know, on your soapbox about what they should do. So we're talking about people who put ethics far over income, okay? And we're all excited to share this with people. So anyways, that was maybe a little longer explanation than you needed. This Q1 of this next year, also, we're gonna come out with a water device that does terahertz and hydrogen together and reverse osmosis and puts minerals back in the water, and you can push a button to have the water cold or hot. I think it does a few other things too. Like right now at my house, I've got to take the Berkey filter that goes through the Berkey filter, then I got to put in a different pitcher that puts hydrogen in it, then I got to take my wand and I got to wand my water, and goodness, it's not mineralized either, right? So I'm ecstatic about this new product that's going to come out. So that's kind of my review of Prife versus Oli Life. Again, Prife, thank you so much for everything you did for us. I appreciate being able to have a beautiful home for my family. But I'm also excited about moving on and making sure that we keep offering people the absolute best products out there. So have an awesome Christmas. It's the day before Christmas here, and we've gotten some insane rain last night. For those of you watching, you know, I live in Northern California. It doesn't snow here, but Lake Tahoe is not too far from here. And supposedly over this week, you know how much snow Lake Tahoe is going to get? Total, they're saying, oh, they could get 8 feet of snow. 8, can you imagine that? 8 feet of snow in one snowstorm. So anyways, hope you're all having an awesome Christmas.